Hello and welcome to Mission Nonprofit. I'm your host, Robert Kam. On Mission Nonprofit, we feature a local nonprofit organization from the local community, and this month we have Olympia Artspace Alliance. With me to talk about Olympia Artspace Alliance is Ron Hinton and Tom Anderson. And you guys are on the board?
Yes.
Okay. And so this has been around for 3 years or so. Was it 2011?
Right, exactly when we started the board, which is a nonprofit.
All right, and so how did it come about? How did the organization start?
Well, I might jump in here on the, after the feasibility study in 2009, which the city took with, they contracted with Artspace Projects USA, and so after that it kind of went on hold a little bit, waiting for something to happen. There was a committee formed, and from that committee then is when we decided if we needed to go to the next stage, which was the art market study, that we needed to kind of incorporate, become a nonprofit, start raising some funds to pay for the survey. So that was 2011.
I want to back up though and kind of give an overall understanding of what you guys do. So there is a national, it's called Artspace Project, and they put together buildings where people can do art and live in the same spaces.
Correct.
And so there was an interest in putting one of those here in Olympia, and we had a feasibility study brought on by a council member, a former council member, and then you guys were like just trying to keep it going. Is
Correct.
that right? Okay.
Right.
And get it to really happen.
Right.
Okay.
Because the national art space has about 30 of these projects completed in the United States, and they only come where they're invited. They don't, push their way into a community and try to put an agenda down. So they were invited. They were excited about the response from the community, and so it was a matter of taking that ball and trying to keep some momentum with it.
So we had the feasibility study, and it turned out positive. Am I right?
Correct.
Can you tell us some more details about what did it show? What did it teach us?
We had about 603 responses and about 95 businesses that were interested in it, which was considered an extraordinarily good turnout for the survey.
For the survey, and you were on the feasibility study back in '09. Was the original question?
That was different.
Okay.
That's different from the survey?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. Yeah, they're two different. The feasibility was '09.
Okay.
And then the market study we just completed.
Okay, so you guys did the market study.
Right.
But Artspace Projects USA did the feasibility study, or
They
was
did
it
both. Yeah,
Okay,
a little
they helped you
confusing
with
here.
both. Okay.
Yeah, the feasibility study, which was '09, and that was kind of, they came to town, they did all these kind of, it was like workshops with artists, art organizations, and just kind of, evaluated what the needs were. And the one thing that was really nice about the '09 feasibility was they did a turnout at the Washington Center, kind of a night, to meet art space. And there was like over 300 people showed up for that one night, and which was the most that they've ever had in any community. And they go into big communities like Seattle has, starting their third project and stuff. And so anyway, they were just really excited to get back to Olympia for the market survey.
Okay.
And then we just then did the market survey.
Okay.
We just released.
And both of them turned out positive.
Yes.
That Olympia needs.
And that's when I let Tom take off with the survey, because that was the 603 respondents from the artists. So.
Right. And that was basically done, we tried to reach out to people through Facebook, postcards, direct mailings, information, fundraising events, anything to get the word out so that people could go online and fill out the questionnaire. And it took about 10 or 15 minutes to do the questionnaire, but it was very comprehensive about income, interest in where you wanted to be, whether it was the east side, the west side, downtown, the type of work that you did, whether you would want just studio space and or studio live workspace. And so it gave us a real in-depth profile of the community. Not just age groups, economic factors, ethnic profiles. It was just really remarkable turn of events just to get this information for us to work with and go forward. And the national organization was very impressed with the amount of responses that we've got.
What do these art space buildings look like in other communities? What kind of spaces are they, and what's included in them? What's the housing like? And have you done some research on them?
Yeah, sure. The wonderful thing about this is they really, like with the art space projects, they really design these with the community. I mean, it's not that they're putting a stamp and going, this is the project that you're going to get. It's totally dependent on what the needs are, which is why the surveys, because the surveys was both from the artist, and then we did another complete survey from art organizations, like what are their needs, and there was like I think it was 50, almost 60 respondents that said they needed rental space, and that's all traditionally in an art space project, then that would be the first floor. So like Everett, it's a 4-story art space project. 3 of those stories are art live workspace. That's where the studios, that's where the studios are. That's where artists live and work. And then downstairs there's the Shack Art Center, and that's the city runs an art center. It's through the Shack community, kind of the art center, and so it's usually like either businesses or rental spaces on the first floor, and then the artists live above that. So it takes in both retail, it takes in commercial, all kinds of aspects, depending on what the needs are in the community.
Sometimes buildings are renovated that exist that fit the needs of the city, or else they're built new, so from the ground up, and then they're typically green built.
Do we have an idea at this point what an Olympia art space would look like, where it would be, and what would be included in it? Do we kind of have an idea from the survey?
It would probably incorporate about 50 units. That could be anything from a studio to several 3-bedroom units. They're all inclusive in terms of families and age groups. It would probably be, the downstairs would be commercial, primarily nonprofit, and we've been talking to all kinds of different interests, including all 3 colleges locally who may be interested in having some kind of a center in the downtown core. And then, but as far as actual location, no, we haven't decided on that yet.
But I think that the last survey showed that most people want it downtown.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And then second place was west side, and
Right.
then east side.
Right.
So, but downtown centrally located. I also heard some rumors that people kind of wanted it at the old brew house. Is that anything to that, or is that just something?
Maybe some would want that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it would be feasible economically or architecturally to do that.
Yeah.
One of the real pluses, particularly in getting funds from the federal government, is being close to transit. So the closer we can be to
Downtown
local
transit center.
downtown transit,
Yeah.
right, would be a big plus in being able to get funding from housing and urban development specifically.
Did you do any research on what kind of artists would be located, like what their art form would be?
Sure, and that was the response. 603 respondents. We had all the typical studio artists, but we had musicians, we have dance, we have it's all the art space projects. The live is for creative. It's like if you're in a creative industry, so there can be a graphic artist. There's wardrobe from theater. It's just an array of poetry, writing, you name it. They live there. Yeah, it's a creative workspace.
There wasn't kind of anything that stood on top, like any.
Well, usually your studio artists,
Mostly
like for
painters.
art,
Okay, visual
painters.
artists.
Yeah, mostly
Yeah.
visual.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's generally, I'm sure around the country, that's generally what it is. But anybody can apply, and anybody can live there in the creative industries.
Why don't we take a look at a video from Artspace Projects USA and see what some of these art spaces look like around the country. So
Excellent.
we'll be right back.
This is a building that has been built and created by the company called Artspace. And I am here today to share with you why Artspace matters and what it has done for me and why I'm so appreciative.
So I was just saying that living here has changed my life significantly. I don't think that I would be doing the kind of art that I'm doing to the degree that I'm doing it if I had not been here and had the influences around me. So I'm very, very thankful for my space and for this opportunity.
I've seen Artspace actually transform a blighted part of Santa Cruz, the town that we live in. It was just desolate over here. It was just a wasted area, and they transformed it into an economic hub for the city.
It's a beautiful place. When I got here, it was the brink of hardship, and now you look at the surrounding community 6 years later, and you can really see so much growth and potential.
It's afforded me the luxury of having to live in the same place I work.
Having a space like this allows us to spend as much time as we need creatively to work and perfect the product that we're working on.
It's a beautiful concept to think that people can be able to live sustainably and at the same time have a creative workspace. What's not to love?
Having this location not only helped so much with our, ability to live, the cost of living was suddenly within our reach, but it also meant, there are artists here. There is, a real foundation for what I'm doing.
The inspiration for writing comes from your life experiences and from your interactions, and something as simple as hearing somebody else's story or getting a different perspective on something you were thinking can change and deflect, how you approach your work in a lot of interesting ways.
Being able to have a reminder that other people are working every day just as hard as you are, and kind of having that motivation because we're all kind of in it together.
It kind of becomes a great source of pushing you without you even really thinking about it sometimes, to keep moving forward and doing more and challenging yourself.
There's almost an unsaid camaraderie between us, something that's just there, where we genuinely feel appreciative that we're in the same spot, that we can be able to be ourselves artistically without feeling like nobody wants to hear this right now, nobody wants to be a part of this, they just want to watch the game.
We can talk about our art and don't have people look at you and kind of go, oh, what do you do really?
It's really interesting because we all have our own form of art, but we're interested in all the others. Some of the musicians are painters, some of the painters work in the garden, etc. So it fosters a neat kind of interdisciplinary community, I guess, really, of all types of artists.
It definitely changed how I approached dance because I had more access to other artists, musicians, and painters. And I found myself right away collaborating, and that's more what I wanted to do.
Just coming home to and fro, you're able to see things and be exposed to things that most people will have to search for.
It's a rare opportunity
for an artist and for anyone who's seeking any kind of artistic pursuit to have a space that's designed specifically for them to be able to contemplate what it is they want to do and how they want to do it.
It has been a profound pleasure to be a part of this community, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to live here, to work here, and to expand creatively here.
So yay, Artspace, for turning this into home.
In all seriousness, in all reality, this place affords me the sanity, the comfort, the solitude. It's my own space, and I can do what I want when I want to do it.
There's so many valuable perspectives and lenses on life that in any one week your life can change. And I mean, that sounds pretty crazy, but it's true, you know? I mean, I believe artists are brilliant. I believe they see things in different ways, and I believe a great way to open yourself up to life is to be around a bunch of artists, because they're crazy.
Hello and welcome back to Mission Nonprofit. If you're just joining us, our guest this month is Olympia Artspace Alliance, and we just saw a video produced by Olympia Artspace Projects USA, and they are the organization that will help Olympia put together one of these arts-based projects. So, and with me again is Ron Hinton and Tom Anderson, who are both on the board of the Olympia Artspace Alliance, which is a nonprofit trying to help facilitate getting an art space project here in Olympia. Right. Mm-hmm. So what's next for us to do that? How can we go about getting one of these? We just saw this video and now we want one. So what do we do?
Well, we're initiating the second phase. The first phase was doing the basic market study to see what the interest was. Now we're in the next stage of trying to raise money in order to explore in more depth location design, the kinds of needs it's actually met. So we need to rally the community to help us do some fundraising. Mm-hmm. And then there are several different phases, and the next phase after that would be.
Well, it's all about pre-design and finding the location. And the one thing our group, the Alliance, is doing, we're also going out to the community now. This is the time where we've had some incredible support here in this area. So we're going out talking to all these people that support. Like this afternoon, I'll be at the EDC and that kind of thing, because it's there's the aspect of the economic development, and then there's the aspect of just creating that vibrancy for artists to live and work. So we're kind of going through our critical path stage now, is like we're talking to private developers and seeing, because there's some interest in like market rate housing downtown. Well, this is affordable, below market housing for artists. So there's more of a there's a whole bunch of things that can be going on downtown that way. So we're, this is the pre-feasibility of the design group that we're working on, which always takes money.
Yeah, and design, it takes a lot of money. But I've written down that you do have some sponsors. You have the Community Foundation of South Puget Sound. You've got Thurston County Chamber, the Economic Development Council, which you just mentioned, the Olympia Downtown Association.
Right. We had the Freeze Foundation contributed to this, as well as the Nisqually Tribe.
And Olympia Federal.
And they've all put some money behind it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And individuals. We had a bunch, had some really good, people behind us that way that's really, really supporting this kind of a effort.
We raised $43,000 in the last year in order to do the study.
And how much do you need to raise throughout this project? What's the total cost?
Well, typically for a city, like there's projects going on now all over the country. There's Loveland, Colorado. There's another one. There's the third one being built in Seattle, And in Seattle, for example, there's over 1,000 artists on wait list for an art space, and they have two's running, and then they're just building a new one at Mount Baker. So
how much is it?
That's you mean
the budget? Yeah.
The budget-wise, well, Everett, I know Everett was 17 million for the total project, and of that, the local community, the city of Everett, it's basically leased the land for $1 a year type thing. So it's land, and then there's the home funds. There's all kinds of the home kind of like affordable housing, federal grants and stuff that cities can help us get. But it's normally a project, say of a $17 million project, it's normally 10 to 15% local. But that's including foundations, local grants. But that's usually the contribution and then the rest is done through Artspace projects and then on a federal grant level.
We mentioned individual contributions. I think right now we should let everybody out there know about your website, which is olympiaartspace.org.
Correct.
And they can go there and they can learn more about the organization, and they can find ways that they can contribute, I'm sure, online.
Right.
You also have Facebook. So if
and Tom's very active in Facebook. You can interact with Tom a lot.
Talk to Tom on
I'm the
Facebook.
manager.
Yes. So you'd like Olympia Artspace on Facebook. That's what we want people to do.
Right, and that will be a gateway to current information, not only from our group, but I try to post as much local information as I can too, just about the arts. So I don't think people can have too many resources, particularly in Olympia, for how to get information on what's happening.
Do we have a grasp of how long this will take,
5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 years, okay.
Right. Typically, that's the way it's been.
For everything, for the fundraising, for the building, and then it'll be done.
To be done.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and the nice thing about, like I say, we haven't contracted with Artspace on Artspace projects on this yet, but it's their formula is such a successful that they built all through the recession and everything. But it's what we're looking for, whether it's private or whatever, is sustainability for the artist. We want this to be an affordable housing for artists for years to come. So a lot of times in some areas they'll come in as artist housing, then the area becomes very popular, the market rate goes up, and artists have to move out. Where the Artspace projects, that doesn't happen. This is sustainable for the artists for long term, which is what we're doing all our work for.
Right. You mentioned affordable. Do we have an idea of what that actually would be, like what the cost of a unit will be? Do you have that at this point?
Well, in the survey, which you can go into the real details by going to our
to the website.
Our website and then click. We have two. We have the summary report and the technical report, and it shows exactly the different kind of breakdown of under marketability rates and everything like that. But it is
probably from anywhere from $400 to $1,200, depending on the unit size.
$400 for an efficiency, $1,200 for a 3-bedroom.
Right. And it's the process of getting a space will involve having a portfolio, making sure you're a legitimate artist of some form, so that you're not just someone who wants to live among artists, but you actually have to. And again, that definition of artist could be a landscape architect, a poet. I mean, it's a very broad range.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's and then once you're in, I think that basically you're for perpetuity, the artists will have their space.
And another good point there too is artists don't need to freak out if they have to work to also make money. It's you can be an artist and you can be working at a job and still be qualified for an art
So you
space.
can have a day job.
You can have a day job. That's exactly right, because it's called reality.
And of the respondents, less than I think 10% made their living from actually doing art. Full time, yeah. And that would be me.
Nice. So we've got a bunch of sponsors. you're still trying to raise money at this point to get the design going.
Exactly.
About 100,000 for the
It's
next
actually
phase?
150,000
Is what
to
we
get
need
the
now.
next phase going.
Right.
All right.
And
So-
there are philanthropic organizations that we're going to, talk with, fill out grants. I mean, there's such an amazing amount of work to pull these kinds of things together. Just the grant writing phase, just the contacts, just the public outreach and the events that we have to do. So any kind of monetary help we can get from the community will go directly into the structure and not into salaries, for example. We're all volunteers.
Okay, good. Well, let's mention the website again, which is olympiaartspace.org, and you also they can search for you on Facebook. Sure, find that.
Right.
We do have to wrap this up. Any final comments? Any last requests from people watching?
No, just, we'd appreciate, go to our website and like us on Facebook. And if they'd like to volunteer or anything like that, we have a link to our email on our website. So we like to hear from the community.
And we did get over a third of the respondents said that they were willing to volunteer, which is extraordinary that you would get 230, 250 people that would be willing to help out. So as soon as we can kind of get it together to make contact with those people, then that will be very useful.
And thank you today for your time.
Thanks for coming.
That's good.
You're welcome.
So I'm happy to say that this is going to be our last standard definition production of Mission Nonprofit. We're going to be back in the late summer or early fall in high definition. So thanks for watching Mission Nonprofit. We'll see you in high def soon. If you know of a local nonprofit that's making a difference in our community, give us a call at 956-3100 extension 103 or send an email to rkam@tctv.net.